Well, at this point, what we want to start doing is moving away from those headlines and actually starting to address what's going on with these paragraphs. So as you can see, when I select any of these pieces of text, they're all paragraphs. So similarly to what we did with the H1s, why don't we do the same thing with paragraphs? We'll create a universal tag that will address all paragraph tags. We did that with the body, did that with the universal selector here that says address every single tag. These are all IDs, right? Hence with the pound symbol. But the image and the H1 are saying, look, any image, any H1, make them all look like this. We're going to do the same thing. But before we do, let's just go back to Photoshop for a second. And I'm going to just double check, make sure. And as you can see here, another fairly common font on the PC, Calibri. What I'm going to do is to work in here. We'll create a new CSS rule, and this one is going to be a tag. And there we go, paragraph tag, perfectly. So, first of all, you can see that I don't really have any of the fonts called Calibri on this list, but remember, we can come here. And if we do, we can say C for Calibri. Do we happen to have that? Let's try this. C. Calibri, perfect. So I'm going to add that. Well, Calibri is kind of a sans serif, so with that as well, I'll say, look, if you don't have Calibri, why don't you just grab another classic called Verdana? Perfect. If you don't have Verdana, grab Arial. So I can even say AR. There it is, Arial. And I don't want bold italic or anything like that, right? So you could just choose your regular Arials will be fine. There's other ones as well. You could even say, look, I want Helvetica or something like it. All of these things are great. And, you can choose any of those sans serifs, any one that you would like. And as I also mentioned, and I want to talk to you about here as well, is you can choose any one of these from your list, but also take note up here, right? The very ending of these, for example, Verdana, Geneva, sans serif, right? That's actually not a bad thing for you to add as well. So now I can come in here and I can say, look, there's Calibri, Verdana, and I could even come in here and say sans dash serif. Whoops. Make sure you spell it properly or else that's not going to do you any good. So if I were to apply that, let's take a look. Hey, very nice. But 11 pixels should be a little bit more appropriately, at least smaller in size. Now you might be looking at that and say, oh, I kind of would like something to be a little bit bigger or something along those lines. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with making your text a little larger. However, you should never really go beyond 12 pixels. I mean, some people might skirt with 14 pixels, and I think it really depends on what font you're using. But you don't want your paragraphs to necessarily turn into headlines or anything like that. You want to create that contrast, right? And we're going to have more of an effective contrast if our paragraphs and our headlines look decidedly different. But we can let things increase a little bit more. For example, if I were to increase the line height and press apply, you can see how things breathe a little bit easier when we do that. Calibri could probably work well at 12 points as well, and as you can see here, it kind of does. But personally, I think 11 points would be a little bit smaller, but actually probably work a lot better. Now, a couple of other things I wanted to do, and that's deal with the color schemes. So you'll notice I'm back in Photoshop, and I probably want to be using the darkest color here, so I chose it from my color picker. And here's the hexadecimal number, which I will copy, Command-C or Control-C if you're on a PC. And we'll go back to Dreamweaver. And here we're going to add the pound symbol, but then paste in our color. And you can see that, just calms it down a bit. It's still dark, so we can still read it. And it's not too light so that it gets lost on the background. So everything's looking pretty good with that. And I don't really have any problems with it in terms of variation, font weight, or anything like that. I'm pretty happy. So we'll just say OK. These are all just single paragraphs right now. So when we go about creating our second and third and fourth pages, which we'll do in the next videos, what we'll be doing is turning this 3-column design. Let's preview it in the browser to see what it looks like first of all. We'll save everything we need to save. So great. Here it is in Firefox. Looks pretty good. Got our headlines pretty much the way we want them to be. All of our alignment is matching up really nicely and looks pretty good. One or two other things maybe I'd make a change to, and we can probably do that. I'll explain a little bit about background images and background color. Perhaps what we could do is add a little something to this as well. Nevertheless, we've got all of our elements in place. Our typographic elements are looking good. My headlines I'm happy with. And we also have these images here which are linking to other pages. Now, right now they're not linking to other pages, but we will make them link to the other pages, which we'll be creating in the next video tutorial.